My guest today is Rupert Faust, who I've known for some years, and Rupert has been the, I guess, driving force in some ways, certainly the founder of the Grounded Permaculture Party. Have I got that right, Rupert? And welcome to
Uh,
the Village Voice.
Thanks very much for having me, Peter. Grounded Permaculture Action Party is
Right.
incorporated. Same legal structure as the village.
Yeah, it was a choice that we needed to take. There were a range of other options, but the way I think both of us have seen is that there needs to be something to interact with the current structure, and
Yeah,
that's really what kind of directed the Village and Village Matrix Incorporated. Was a
yeah,
way to actually interact with the world as it is today. Who knows how long that's going to last or where that might go, but yeah, it's a strong way to be able to accept funds from people, make them safe, put them in trust, and so on. And yeah, a strong way to be able to do that and still negotiate with government and organisations and corporations and so on, should that be necessary, as it mostly is at the moment.
totally. Yeah. And I found when we did it, it was like kind of the simplest structure to set up, because it is what most school community groups, netball groups, sports clubs, whatever else, they all use the same structure. Interestingly, Woodfordia Inc. Woodford's the same structure as well. Woodford Folk Festival. Yeah, it's good. It also gives all of the members, like it kind of, it helps the organization create its own identity. So it gives it for all the not only to interface with the outside world, but all the members to interface with, right? A
Sure.
separate bank account, like you guys have got as well, CRM and a board and da 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 da, constitution and rules of association, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and yeah, that makes it nice and clear. The other thing, I guess, that occurs, of course, though, is that as we're both in a position where we've founded something, whatever that means, I guess, dreamed it in at the start and put the energy into actually drawing people together, I guess, is what founded means. Um,
Actualize it. Yeah.
yeah, and so you have, quite a long-term reputation as the person who was behind that. How long-term is that? How far back does that go? When did it happen?
With Grounded.
Yeah,
So the word and the idea and this concept came to me basically in 2015, the end of 2015. And it was like this, how can I put together all of my skills um, and experiences into something that's cohesive, drawing inspiration from all the other things I've seen around the world. And this word grounded just came to me. That was the end of 2015. And I was out at my mum's property, uh, where I'd sort of basically quit the city and wanted to plant a food forest. I'd just done all these swales, and I was kind of like, I want to have a tree planting party, have people over, plant trees, da 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 da. And then we basically played around with the wording initially in that first year or so. It was Grounded Festival, then it was Grounded Gathering. And then in 2017, when we'd done the second gathering in 2017, and then we were planning the third gathering for 2018. It was growing and getting more people involved. The hosts were like, "So, what's the legal structure? We're concerned about liability, etc., etc." And I said, well, I don't know. We can do a whole bunch of things. Probably kind of like you, Pete, when people are like, what's the
oh
structure?
yeah,
And
oh yeah.
and I sort of basically had to do some research, do the work. And in 2017, I think it was June 2017, we had that first founding meeting with the minutes and the vote to become incorporated, and then we filed all the paperwork. So that was 2017. Yeah, and it's kind of been growing ever since, really.
Right. and quite a strong group of people in terms of numbers. What numbers would you say are like active members within Grounded Permaculture Action Party?
Well, it depends on how you define active.
Paid up,
Uh hey,
paid up.
paid up. Oh, actual paid members. Well, that paid membership thing, I don't know. I've always struggled with it over the years, but since having a good CRM, right now we it makes it easier to manage online. So actual paid members is probably only about 20, 25
Yep,
maybe. Um, and I would say I think it'd be close to 4,000 on the email list.
right.
So people that have subscribed on to the organization, and everyone on that email list has either been to an event, been to one of our courses, has downloaded one of our guides or PDFs, or has signed up to the permaculture masterclass that I'm doing next week, um, or have just gone to the website and have put their details in. So yeah, I'd say probably about 1,000 to 1,500, maybe 2,000 of those people have actually showed up to events over the years.
So we're running in parallel with a fairly similar kind of size, I'm imagining, because
Yeah, man. I definitely, yeah, I definitely look to you and the village as this kind of parallel thing that's like, if you look at the evolution of life, life spins off multiple variations of this similar kind of thing, right? To
yeah,
test it, to see how it will go and work. And yeah, it's I see that with the village and with Grounded, and then, even more so with us coming here to what was FAMUNITY at the time, 2019, and then slowly just, getting grounded here and taking on management of the place and running it and just doing that. And now that's our base. And
yeah,
the village was founded here. So there's a
right.
very big overlap, right?
Yeah, there's definitely some alignments going on there. And look, one of the things that occurs in that is that when you have uh, an influence in where something is moving, uh, whether you choose it or not, your voice becomes influential.
Yeah.
And you've been, I know, president of the organization for some time. You're not at the moment, is that correct?
Yeah. So I was president for, I don't know, probably the first few years. In, I think, this year or last year, maybe last year was the first year. Um, I we switched it. We switched it up. We got Didge in as president, and I took on the role of treasurer because, especially since, well, because I drive all the activities, I manage all the budgets, and then, especially since 2020, as it just kept growing, right, and the numbers just kept getting bigger. I had to, figure it all out and set up systems, QuickBooks and chart of accounts and hire bookkeepers and figure all of that out, as well as the same parallel journey of myself personally, just going, I'm going to figure out and master the realm of money, business, and marketing. So that's kind of been yeah, how I've sort of like leaned into that treasurer role a bit more. Yeah.
I think the funny thing is that a large part of what you're doing is really about stepping away from most of that kind of corporate body organizational situation. It's really about saying there are ways in which we could interact with one another that aren't quite as focused on those things. Would that also be a truth? That it's really looking
Oh,
at connecting with,
yeah.
in your case, connecting with the ground and saying we need to get back to some values that connect us with this thing, this earth that we're on, and how we're caring for it, tending it, and how it therefore cares and tends for us.
That's the core, Peter. That's the absolute core. And everything else is to serve that. Like I see that as the foundational uh objective reality, which is reality is built upon individuals having conversations with each other, making agreements, making exchanges, taking action, collaborating. Um, that's like base, that's the foundation, and everything else is built upon that. All the corporate structures, all the institutions, all the money and the government and technology, it's all
Yeah.
built upon that like basis, which is like I said, grounded in the earth, and then just interacting with people in that realm.
So one of the reasons that we've been prompted to have this conversation is that you've recently put up a fairly what has become quite a controversial post. But
Mm.
before I want to, and I want to visit that with you because I think it requires. When I look at that post, I think I don't want to jump into some kind of inane comment. I really want to dive a little deeper and see where that goes. And I also want to draw attention while I speak with you about such things as the knowledge that in this nation right now, we are down to, in our industrial farming systems, 2 centimeters of topsoil. That really does represent a fairly difficult situation for this nation.
Yeah. Um, Australia, I think, apparently has always had not a lot of topsoil.
Yeah,
Um, but then, there's other mixed stories. If you read Bruce, uh, why does the name elude me right now? Black Dark Emu. Can't remember the author of Dark Emu, talking about, some of the early colonizers and explorers and settlers really in their journals documenting what they saw as a managed parkland and going through, far like managed fields and lots of
yep,
topsoil and ground looking like it's been tilled and turned and chopped and cared for. So yeah, I think it's a mix. It's hard to tell. See, and this is what it also comes back to the post, right? It's really tricky from our current present reality in the now, which is all we have, to paint an objective story of the past because there is no objective single truth
yeah,
of the past. All it is stories. And, if we come back to the post and what that triggered for a lot of people, um, is a story of the patriarchy being evil, capitalism destroying the world and driving consumerism, the oppression of women. And while all of that's true, there's a counter story to that that's kind of the opposite.
yeah.
And it's like, it's that's also true. And which story do we want to be fixated on, or can we accept all the stories? I don't know.
Yeah, look, it's a matter of all of history. In fact, that most of the stories have been written by the winners, and mostly the winners were the very powerful and very wealthy. And there's other stories that just don't get even the light of day. Um, at the same time, in the current circumstance, if we look at, let's move on to the post. If we look at the post that you recently put up, as the founder of the Grounded Permaculture Action Party, and as a person who has now roughly 4,000 people who are interconnected in the Grounded Permaculture Action Party, uh, you put up a post that essentially has been perceived by many as, and I'll display the post so that people can see it on this video. Uh, but it has been read by many as you taking a fairly solid position, one that gender roles will be very particular in the circumstance where the shit has hit the fan, so to speak, where there is a collapse of our civilization. Uh,
Mm.
and there are so like strong gender position for the masculine, the feminine, or the male and the female, and children, and so on. And there's been quite a lot of call out that's basically said and pointed at you as having a very old-fashioned, misogynistic, patriarchal position. I wonder whether
Mm.
you would speak to that for me and for those who take the time to watch this.
Well, okay. There's so much in this, Pete. I had no idea when I put this up. Today's Wednesday, the 24th of April. I put it up on Sunday, what would have been 22, 21, 20th or something like that. So a few days
Yeah.
ago.
700,
I interacted.
740 comments so
Oh,
far.
oh God, oh God. Okay, so to be honest, I put it up. I interacted with a few of the comments over the day. I kind of read by Sunday night 75% of the comments, and I tried to respond to a few of key people that I know personally and love and respect. And then, yeah, I just haven't had time to go back to it. And there's a few things in that, right? Because it's been a non-stop topic of conversation with the crew at work. We're running a tree planting operation across the road, so there's about 4 or 5 of us there. Most of us live at the hub here. There's 15 people that live at the hub. Non-stop conversation for everybody here.
No doubt.
And we had an emergency board meeting yesterday for the grounded board, and then there was like a few extra people involved in that meeting as well. And the specific question was like, yeah, just trying to understand what was going on, and calling me out in holding me accountable, and then how can Grounded as an organization respond through that process. We're still working through that. I haven't checked any comment like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday now. I think it's still going right. I think yesterday it was 500, now it's up to 700.
Yeah.
Um, so it's got a life of its own, and there's so much in it. Okay. So firstly is through the process, I can fully acknowledge how my choice of words and the underlying values or beliefs in those words um, have outraged, offended, and upset a whole bunch of people. And some people I care about and have deep ongoing relationships with, and for that I am sorry, because that is not wasn't my intention. There's that part, and then there's this other part, which is my conflation of I not only ideas and values, like just mashing them up, but the conflation between my own personal views and values and spin on life and that of the organization.
Right.
And
You become a spokesperson for the organization
yeah,
other
sort of,
than
man.
Faust.
Exactly. And it's hard to pull that apart,
Yep.
because I put so much work into Grounded. Um, and so what it is a lot of my work, a lot of other people too, but the work that I've put in is kind of exponentially beyond anyone else's. And so there's this, so then I've conflated that, and I'm still learning this, right? As I learn this marketing, media, online thing, I've I've it was already I'd already learned that I would never post that as the Grounded page, right? Like that's just not good. I'd never put that in our regular emails. Um, but as an individual, just posting on my page, I could post all that. But then where it got really weird, and this is kind of what was discussed in that board meeting and the committee meeting, the circle. It's like everyone's cool with all of that, right? No one. It's all about freedom of expression and opinions and stuff. But then going, and I'm talking about a hypothetical future scenario, but then I go, this is what we live and breathe now at Grounded Permaculture Action Party. And that kind of just like clumped everyone into it. And then this
Right.
association of this is what we're doing right now. And because of that, and then the words that I chose to use to convey certain values and traditional values essentially in gender roles, yeah, it just that mashed up. So I can fully acknowledge that I didn't need to do that and made a mistake there as well. So it's like tagging grounded, and the conflate with the conflation of ideas, and then fully just acknowledging that hurt in the women. So,
So just let's
but
can I just
yeah,
investigate for a second?
yes,
The place that you indicated women would hold in a circumstance of SHTF, so shit hit the fan.
yeah,
So that you're talking there about the collapse of civilization, essentially, right? And cities needing to shut down because they're not getting fed and so on. So you're talking about
all that.
in a really serious, difficult situation. You were talking then about women being in a role where they cared for the children, and you
Yeah.
used the words whispered sweet nothings into
Mm.
the ears of the masculine so that they thought it was their idea. I mean, interesting choice of words at best.
Mm. Yeah. So that particular thing, right? Uh, those words, whisper sweet nothings in his ear. Women feeding men their ideas, so they think it's their ideas. These are old sayings, right? They're old cliche things.
Yeah,
Um, Talking about a particular idea or value, which is, um, and in the circle, one of the members was explaining how her great grandmother, who's 95, gave advice to her cousin who got married and said, if you want to get anything done, you have to influence your man and to get him to do it, and he has to, and make him think it's his idea. Like if they're old ideas, and
yeah,
so that there is a truth in that because that idea and that value system served a function for a period of time,
yeah,
and it served a function for a very long period of time, and so then you could say, well, that's a relatively permanent part of culture if it served for a long time, and you could argue still serves today, then is that not permaculture if permaculture is about understanding the permanent aspects of culture? So that is a controversial idea for many. For a particular band of people, I would say, that adopt a particular worldview, that have a certain belief system. Because what's fascinating, right, is you're someone who knows me personally, uh, knows the post. It's most of the people, from what I can gather, that have spent time with me, that know me personally in real life, just, you know, go, oh, that's Roops. Oh, maybe there was a bit cringy. Maybe they go meh. Maybe, because they can understand the greater context of me and how I operate and how I think and what I actually do, right, in the spaces that I create and hold.
yeah,
So there's that. Then there's a whole band of people that don't know me at all. So they're really just projecting an idea of maybe what they've seen of me or associated with me because of grounded. They're projecting their ideas of what they've seen with grounded because they've never actually been. So there's a lot of people in that camp. And there's a lot of negativity from those people. And then, even a crossover of people coming in closer to the org and closer to me. There's definitely a crossover there. But what's fascinating is my inbox, personal inbox, overwhelmingly, all the messages are all of support. People are saying thank you. They're saying bravo. You're don't listen to the haters, da 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 da. Keep doing what you're doing. So there's like this huge thing of support from both men and women. And it really comes into the calls into this idea of like, okay, so now Rupert, you've upset all the women, you need to apologize to them. Okay, all the women, some women, who can speak for all women? Like there's such a diverse range of views in the women and the men, and of people who got offended. So there's really, and there's this public outcry, but the public is just made up of individuals, and so it's all these other individuals that are kind of getting upset because they hold a particular world view, right? Because some people don't care, they're not upset. Some people go, oh, it's a bit cringy. Some people go, I just don't agree,
Yeah.
and they don't get upset. So it's a fascinating thing. But the
But I
way,
want to,
like
I
but
want
the
to bring
way I
it back.
see it is, yeah, to that point, it's a
No, to
biological
you.
reality.
No,
Oh,
to you.
yeah, what do you mean?
So all of those people have their opinions and their positions and where they stand in regard to the
Yeah,
comment. And I know because I have in the past been quite a prolific poster. I've
yeah.
posted quite a lot of things. I don't do so much anymore. I'm about to, but haven't for a while. And I want to investigate into you and to ask you, is that the position that you hold as how you see the future and how you see
Oh,
circumstance would be? I don't care what the other people think.
oh yeah.
The
So how do I see? So
Yes,
how do I? I'm looking at what I'm playing out constantly in my mind, nonstop for about a long time now, but really seriously ever since I got on land is running this scenario of like what happens if shit hits a fan, right? And if we lose all the modern comforts, because I see it all built upon a house of cards, it's all built upon lies. I didn't know where the source of those lies come from, or where the fragility comes from. For many, many years, I'm pretty confident I know now it's because of the monetary system and the central banking. If we can fix that, we'd fix a lot.
yeah,
Um, because the monetary system's not grounded in reality. Hence this key word of grounded, right? I wanted to get grounded back into reality, objective, truthful reality that I can verify for myself. Um, and when I test a theory in the garden, I can see whether it works or not. And when I do that enough times over time, I can identify patterns. And so I start to like build up a map of reality, of physical reality. And the more I pay attention to those patterns in the climate, in the seasons, in the rain, in the way plants grow, in the way a soil operates, all of that, then I can harmonize with it and work with it better, right? I can get better productivity for less effort. On the flip side, that's the earth care side of permaculture. And it's a very easy to map out thing because it's objective. But then there's the people care side of permaculture. Now, and people is the realm of words and ideas and emotions and feelings and all of this stuff, which is, not necessarily grounded in reality, but there is a part that is, which is the biology. We are biological beings grounded in reality, and from a biological objective perspective, there are certain truths that you cannot see and predictably play out with humans. And that's the biological objective reality. And the biological objective reality is to create a child, you need a man and a woman, and the woman gets pregnant and carries the child and gives birth. For that child to grow up healthy, that woman needs to nurture that child, especially in that first year, breastfeeding and da 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 da, for that woman to have a safe space to give that love and nurture. It's the man's role and duty and responsibility to protect and provide a safe space. And that I see as an objective part of reality. Like it's and then that's So there's like that biological sex, objective reality, and from there stems the gender roles. Like the primary gender role, woman carries child, man provides and protects. And when I think of a shit hits the fan scenario, I'm trying to expand my time horizon to the longest possible time horizon. So when I'm prepping, I'm like, well, sure, I can prep. And there was a lot of comments from women, I'm out here all by myself, single, I'm fully sustainable, self-sufficient, don't need no man. It's like, that's great. But how long is that going to last? Not more than a lifetime, right? So if you want something to continue more than a single lifetime, it's like, that's the biological objective reality. And there is gender roles in that. You can have everything else on top of that. Without that, you can't have anything. So once you've got that, you got men creating safe spaces, protecting and providing, women having children, caring, loving those children. There's a dynamic thing between the two, right? Backwards and forwards, men in service to women, women in service to men, like this dance. And you can have everything else on top of that, right? You can have, do I need to name all the things, right? All, strong, independent women that don't want to have kids, that want to be warriors. You can have trans, queer, LGBTQ. You can include everyone on top of that. But without that, doesn't last very long. Doesn't last more than a lifetime or a generation or two. So I'm thinking on a really long time horizon, and I'm just going, well, how? And I'm a bit fucking crazy like that, but that's what I think, and I'm planning for that. I'm planning because I know it's going to happen. I like it's like Noah's Ark, like, and God telling Noah just build that fucking ark because the floods are coming, and everyone's telling him he's crazy. And I'm like, all right, there's something coming. And I know a lot of people feel it. That's why SHTF is such a freaking viral meme. That's why there's such a fear in things. And I would actually say that these people that are upset with, like, sure, my words were clumsy. It's very cliche. It can be portrayed in a way that sort of, because there is a dark side to, there is the toxic masculinity and a dark side to the patriarchy. But on the same side, flip side, there's toxic femininity and a dark side to matriarchy. And doesn't necessarily mean that either of those things are inherently evil, and doesn't necessarily mean that gender roles need to be fixed, right? Like a woman would come through and may or may not have kids, but in that time she'd have kids. And we see it in today in reality, right? Have the kid, but then a couple of years later, no more kids, and then the dynamic changes, the gender roles change. And I've had that personal experience. I see it play out in a lot of the people around me, right? They're like strong, powerful feminist women until they get pregnant. And then you're bounded by freaking biological objective reality. The man must carry the fucking load. And that is the man's responsibility. You can't get away from it. And what, and then all of these people that are outraged on this, for them, the biggest threat is the toxic masculinity and patriarchy, right?
Sure.
I just don't see that in my reality. I don't see that in any of my immediate reality. I have good men around me, and I have good women that have good men around me. And there's none of that shit going on around me in my field. I won't
Yeah.
allow it. It's really easy to identify that toxic masculinity and not let it in. But what is in my field and keeps creeping in is the toxic femininity and women that will emasculate and undermine men constantly because they have a deep hatred, because they believe the patriarchy is evil and haven't resolved that thing. And that I see that, and I have to like push, like defend that off. And I don't do it perfectly, but
Yeah.
and it ruffles feathers and causes upset along the way. But it's very real.
Rupert,
And
I want to draw your attention to
yeah,
several people who indicate partnership with you
yeah,
have have been quite strident in saying that they don't agree with your post, don't agree with your position, and feel that there has, that you have demonstrated what you're describing in your life with them, and they've not been happy with that. Is that a truth? There's one
Um,
or two comments on there that are from people who say that they have been in relationship with you and have found you to be uh, to represent a dominating patriarchy.
so you're saying women that have been with me as partners?
Yes.
Um, I haven't seen those comments. Relationships get messy. I've
Yeah.
definitely um, been in some toxic situations and contributed to that toxicity myself and been fully responsible for that. I won't deny that. I'm certainly no freaking angel when it comes to doing that because I'm honestly attempting as I live this life to, you know, find truth and understanding in myself and with other and love and, all of that. So I'm not familiar with who said that and what
Okay.
comments they made, so I can't know or comment specifically on that. But and I'm very cautious, yeah, to talk badly, like, or I don't know, unpack details about anybody or things without knowing who's saying what.
Yeah. Understand.
Uh,
Thank you for the willingness to go there with me. That it's a deep question, and I'm not being specific about who has said. You'll be able to read the comments yourself.
yeah,
And you like head up in this country, probably anywhere in the world, but certainly in this country, head up above in any way often gets confronted with finding the dark points in people's lives, and we all have them.
yeah, yep, yep,
Yeah.
that's right.
So I want to also move on to a fellow marketer. Um, from a marketing perspective, there's another old saying that says something like, "No publicity is bad publicity." And you have a post that has, moving towards 800 comments on it, has created a furor within your community and extended beyond that, and has certainly brought grounded permaculture action party into a perhaps not super wide, but significant spotlight. Was there any
Mm.
of what you were doing? Did any of it have to do with that? With actually going, okay, well, I'm going to go public in order to create publicity, in order to bring attention to what we're doing, to bring attention to the possibility of shit-it's-a-fan options or possibilities. And was this a marketing exercise?
Oh, look, whether people like it or not, life is a marketing exercise, right? What is marketing, right? Marketing is just telling stories,
Yep.
right? And broadcasting those stories and getting those stories out there to on an individual basis, on a sort of mass basis. We have this tool, social media, which a lot of people still don't know how to what use. I didn't know how to use for so many years. And like I said, since 2020, when everybody had their big COVID awakening and people realized that the system wasn't as it seems, and they're like, oh shit, we better get on land and grow some food and build community. And I was like, all right, well, I've already got that sussed. I can't, that's dialed in. Uh, I'm going to master money, business, and marketing because I've got that foundational layer in place. And now for it to grow more, this is what is next.
Yep.
So the marketing, I've been like consciously, even though I've been marketing, I ran a record label in 15 years ago. No, well, and had a hip hop band. I'd managed that. So, I've been trying to market, but I didn't really know how. And so it's really like this since 2020, this deep dive into, learning from the best in the world and really putting everything into it to understand marketing, which is ultimately just storytelling. And being able to tell good stories, but then being able to utilize the technology and the different platforms to tell different stories in different ways. Facebook is kind of like the one I've been on the longest. And you know, that's kind of the one I'm most comfortable with. I'm learning how to do YouTube lately and just posting more videos since getting our CRM nearly 2 years ago. And I've been like actively writing emails like every week, write an email every week. Sometimes for a while I was doing 2 weeks. So it's like doing reps. And I've developed a unique style in that process, from learning from the best, but then also integrating, hip hop and rap. And so, uh, learning from the marketing and everything like that. Gary Vee is kind of one of those main social media guys that sort of crushed it early in the days. And he says, you know, when it comes to content, you just got to pump out as much content as you can. It's like
That's
quality over quantity. But then if you can do quality quantity, that trumps.
that's it. Yeah,
So so I'm just like for ages, and it's like it's hard for people not to figure out like what am I going to share? Am I just sharing for me, like for my own self adulation? I don't know if even know if that's the right word, or am I sharing something to try and offer value to people? Okay, so then who are the people that you try and offer value to? In the marketing learning that I've learned is you're speaking to your past self. That's it. You're just speaking to your past self. If if I was on the internet 5 years ago, what would I have wanted to tell myself or seen to help me get to where I am faster? Because I'm living the dream. I'm fucking living the dream. And I've done a lot of work to get there. So how could I help my past self get here quicker? And and then because there's people out there that kind of want to live the life that I live, and they can take little bits and pieces and choose what they want and reject what they don't want to help them get along and help them live their dream faster. So yeah, like then there was this little penny drop a couple of years ago. It's like, well, why are you using social media? Like, and I was like, oh, okay, it's just a marketing tool. It's just a tool to tell stories and reach people and connect with people. And literally, like, I had an aversion for computers and social media for so long. I didn't really want to do it. I didn't like it. But then when I was like, I'm just doing it to bring people together in real life.
right.
Like,
Face to
that's
face.
it's so effective at doing that. And it's freaking awesome. And built grounded through that off Facebook, off my personal profile, like inviting people into the first one, and it's kind of built from there. So yeah, I'm consciously making effort to pump out more content all the time. And as I do that, as you sort of, it's just like doing reps at the gym. You get stronger, you strengthen the muscle, and then, you know, you sort of go through the standard easy ideas, and then you start venturing out into these other ideas that are a bit further on the edge, right? And you start like pushing out and trying to bring in those ideas. And so that post on the Sunday morning, not planned, just freaking came to me out of nowhere. And I was just like, I was like, oh, this is freaking cool. It's like writing the song, like when I get inspired to write a song, and it's kind of like a mashup of prose. I'm just like mapping it all out. And I just was like, man, when shit hits the fan, this is kind of what I would think is important that you need as that foundational objective biological layer. And there's these two things that I see as a threat to jeopardizing that group, which I've experienced, which is the toxic feminism, femininity, and those morally virtuous moochers that hide behind the group and don't step forth and own their own ideas and their own perspective and their own things from an individual thing, but kind of like hide behind this idea of the group. So yeah, it's so it's just pumping out content. And then I guess I am testing those waters as I'm exploring those edges. I'm like,
This was more of
because
an edge
as
explore, this one.
yeah, and as you because I'm now consciously making that intention, like I want to reach as many people as I can. How do I create content that goes viral? How do I explore those edges? I keep posting shit. Some shit doesn't get a hit. Some shit does get a hit. I'm like, okay, this is interesting, fascinating. I'll play with that. And then, yeah, this one kind of went into new territory that shocked a lot of people within our inner circle. But then at the same time, like some people applaud me and fucking tell me it was genius. And I have a lot of love and respect for those people. And it's a lot of people in my inner circle. And, even the owner of this property, like it, yeah. But there is like in that inner circle, like a lot of the women didn't bat an eyelid within the inner circle. Some did, it did bring up stuff, did bring up feelings, did bring up hurt and upset and offense and disgust, in my words.
Yep.
So like, I got to fully own that and acknowledge that and recognize that, and especially for the women I have personal relationships with. But it's not all of them, right? So it's like, oh, okay, like some fully agree. I got women messaging me going, "Fuck yeah,
Yeah.
awesome, thank you." Like,
If we would,
so really it just comes down to that belief system, right? How do you see the world? What's the story you're telling yourself of how reality is? And, like, man, this is going to get right to the edge of it, right? As I'm still exploring these ideas with you right now. A part of me wonders that if all those people that are that upset from a few words that really just portray old ideas and traditional values, they're so upset about it. Is it because, my words aren't true, or that their belief system and the story that they're telling themselves is not true? And then there's this clash of, and it goes,
yeah.
and so then it's like, okay, well, let's call into question, what are those stories and beliefs, and how true are they? Are they the whole truth or just a part of the truth? um,
Let's go
yeah,
back a
so
week. Let's go back a week. And you've
yeah,
just written the same piece, and Sunday morning arrives, and you wrote it on Friday and Saturday, and Sunday morning arrives, and you go, I could click send here now or not. Would you click
yeah.
send again?
Uh, well, if if it was, if I knew how it was going to play out, I would probably edit it a little bit,
Right.
but I'd definitely send it. I'd edit it a little bit, massage it a little bit, try and like soften the edges a little. Definitely send it always. Um, and if I knew the impact, I would probably run it past a few people first,
Hmm.
which is what I'm doing right now. There's a process going on with that, with the extended board circle from Grounded. I'm formulating one comment to address them all, right? Because I'm not going to fucking read all those comments. I just don't have the time. I'm busy running life, and I'm just going to keep pumping out more content. And this is just the beginning, right? Like I've only turned the dial halfway. We haven't even cranked it up, and it's going to be a fucking roller coaster. There's going to be some bumps. Let's buckle up and go for the ride, because there's a lot to talk about. And So I'll always post it. But yeah, like I said, when I'm with my replies, I'm going to do one comment to sort of try and be as just, one comment, and then I'm running that past people. Like I'm running it past that board. I'm running past trusted advisors. I'm running it past women I trust and respect to get their perspective. And man, it's like some women will just be like, yeah, that's great. Others are like, oh, you're not doing, that's not an apology. You've just doubled down. And like, wow, it's interesting. And you know, from the people that I love and respect and want to not be like, but I see they're further along a path than me, not in fully all regards, no one ever is, but they say, oh, this bits of their life I like, or this bits of their life I like. They're like sending me messages of support, and I'm like, oh wow, like okay. Like all the people that are outraged and upset aren't really, some are necessarily living the kind of lives that I aim to or aspire to live. So their opinions don't matter that much. The opinions of the people within my circle that I have personal relationships for sure. And yeah, so I can't even remember what the question was, where we were going with that.
So let's just keep on moving from there because it was a long answer to a short question. But I want to move.
Sorry.
I want to move. No, all good. I want to move further and say one of the recommendations, because I've had my fair share of critique over the past decade of the village and village matrix. Um,
For sure. I can
uh,
only imagine.
yeah, it's there's all everyone has an opinion. Let's put it this way. It's the same as the spot at which we get rid of our waste in our bodies. Everyone has one of those, and everyone has an opinion. What I often would say to people is, if you want to actually really contribute to this effort, this movement, this energy, this thing that we're doing, come to the next gathering and talk to me face to face. Um,
Yeah.
don't be a keyboard warrior. I wonder,
Oh, yeah, right.
is that something that that might be called into place to say, if people really want to engage with grounded permaculture action party, they have an opportunity to do that, do they not? To sit in circle with a whole group of people, to hear the attitudes and opinions of a whole group of people, including you, by sitting in circle at a grounded gathering.
Yeah, look, that's an option that's always on the table, and that's the whole point of us doing the social media, the whole point of me doing the social media for many years. Although now I'm starting to expand beyond the scope of what Grounded is about. Like I'm kind of pushing into new territory. Even there's a ongoing discussion of, is shit hits this narrative of shit hits the fan, is that what Grounded's about? I'm arguing it is, because you know, permaculture was founded on this idea of prepping for system collapse. Like that's
Yeah,
what Bill and David were doing, right? So it's a tool for that. But then, into this whole, all the money, business, marketing stuff. So there's kind of like this expansion. So the whole thing on there is always to get people to come along. There with this post in particular and the outrage now, there's a lot of people that are just like, it's kind of that cancel culture. That it's like, nah, no way. It's like this was the thing that, because they were maybe not sure, has sealed the deal and never going to come. And
well, so
like,
the people who haven't engaged really have now decided they're not going to engage really.
yeah, they're kind of like they're like the keyboard supporters, right? From afar, and they're like, "Oh, we love what you do. Well done." Da 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 da. And then they've never actually come. And yeah, it's yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting, it's a very sensitive point, right? Because within the circle now, because we've caused this outroar, and there's a lot of people that are like, I'm not coming, or I've been before and I'm never coming again now, and um, losing people from that effect. And there's this kind of like, oh fuck, let's do some damage control. Rupert, can you do damage control? And Will from the organization do some damage control? um, to not lose people, but then at the same time, it's attracting other people that get it.
Hmm.
And it's narrower. It's a
Niche.
narrower in scope. Yeah, it's a more niche, and um, is that right or wrong? I don't know. I kind of think it is, or there's the question of like, oh, do we just want yes men or yes everyone that just agrees in the thing? And I'm like, well, I don't think everyone always will, but and this is part of the marketing thing that I've been learning over the years. It's like you want to appeal to the most narrowest niche that you possibly can, and then just go for that.
Yeah.
And there's been this refinement process, and it's so fascinating because these stories are freaking overlapping. Like even this property had this story when it first got here, community
Yeah.
permaculture, and it was very open. It was just very open, very, very open. And then, it went through some very different, successes and failures over the years. And then it got narrowed, right, by the owner of the property and the founder, who I won't name in this post because I know he values his privacy. So um, that got narrowed. And then when we got here, 2019, it was like, oh, I got this idea for a regenerative living hub, permaculture action party, da 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 da. We do this, da 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 da. We'll rent from you as long as you spend some money on the place doing work, and we'll do the work. And he was like, oh, well, I've had all these ideas before. I've had so many big dreams come through. We're just renting houses now. I'm done with community. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
all right, that's fine.
I
There's
know him.
base. Yeah, I know. I know you know him well. He was part of that founding crew with you for the village. And I was like, that's fine because I'm a pretty practical dude. I just want to rent and build a relationship. And that's worked really well. And even when we came with this idea of regenerative living hub, I'm just testing out an idea. I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't know who would want to come along. It's very open, very open. And then it's like, actually, we're kind of refining. Actually, this is actually kind of what we're about. And then, last year when we tried to raise money to purchase the site, um, and I'll just call him G, wasn't, he wanted to sell, and we were sort of trying to raise money, and we put together this idea for the Regenerative Living Co. And it was very open, it was very idealistic, very in that green heart space. And we didn't raise the money. And then, G came back and he was like, all right, haven't raised the money. We'll just do another year lease or whatever else. And then um, he came back to me and said, oh, look, the reason I didn't jump on board with your idea was because, it was too idealistic, too wishy-washy. If it was more shit hits the fan, prepping sort of thing, and there was all these extra lifestyle benefits, I'd be in. I was like, oh,
So,
okay. I'd love
so
to include
that
him. But then it's like a narrowing, right? So to include more people, I have to narrow it.
yeah,
Anyway, that's all.
that
And so
also
this whole fan thing has come into it since.
speaks to me of a fundraise. Yeah, you're looking for people who will come in
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
100% because they know what they're getting involved with, and they're wanting to equip their lives in one way or another, and they're willing to invest in that in a range of different ways.
Yeah, and I think like I just articulated then for myself as to explore this idea to reach more people and grow whatever it is you're doing, your business, your organization, the community project. It's like to include more people, you have to narrow the scope.
Yeah,
And the more you can narrow that scope, the more people you're going to include because we live in this global age of internet and there's freaking
billions to choose from.
so many billions of people with billions of ideas and like micro niches within micro niches, right? It's absolutely phenomenal. Um, and yeah, so it is this weird thing of like as you narrow it, we're gonna be excluding more people, which is what's happening. People are getting upset and they're getting excluded. But then there's others, who like they get more involved because of it,
Yeah.
because they're like, fuck yeah, it there's more resonance because it's more specific and more defined. It's a weird paradigm. I haven't figured it out yet. I'm just
You and me both.
plumb yeah, just like trotting along and figuring it out as we go.
Rupert, I want to say thank you very much for, I guess, the courage to jump straight in and speak to this in terms of the post that you recently put up. It's a part of my endeavor to gain additional publicity as well, because the Village and Village Matrix Inc. are on the move as well. And when
Mm.
I saw what you had written, I thought it was only fair that an opportunity was there to actually dig a bit deeper than some random comment. So you'll notice on there that I haven't commented at all because I wanted to do this, and I recognize the courage it takes to step up and say, "Yep, I'll be in that. I'll speak with you." Thank you
Well,
for taking the time out.
Peter, I'm very grateful as well. And as I make that conscious intention to get more content on the internet, the podcast thing is an obvious option. And yeah, it's and this is what I'm all about, right? I'm all about free and voluntary consensual exchange to the mutual benefit of all parties involved. And it's like, yep, I know Pete. Yep, I trust you to a certain level to have good conversation, because we have had good conversation over the years.
Yes,
It's been a slow growth, which is
we've been a
the
slow burn.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the best. They're the best kind, man. They're the best kind. Like, they're the best, actually. And one of my favorite sayings is, the slower it grows, the longer it lasts.
Yeah.
And that's how I apply that philosophy in so much of my life. And this that and so it's like, yeah, this thing is a hot topic. It gives me a platform which I'm very grateful for, to just be able to flesh it out a little bit more and unpack it in that long form content. And it gives you the opportunity to um, you know, ride off the back of it, and the village and everything, the matrix and everything gets a bit of exposure as well, because what we're doing, man, is good work, and it's really important work.
I
And
agree.
you know we just got to keep doing what we're doing. That's all it is.
Yeah, the
And sharing
courage.
that with people, giving people inspiration, not to even just join what we're doing, but to um, start their own, or some
Yeah,
variation of it.
quite right.
Because that's how I see the future playing out, is like this splintering into lots and lots of micro communities and micro gatherings. And I think you've seen my article on the future of festival culture, which I wrote 4 years ago, and I just keep bringing it back up because I don't even need to change it because it's so accurate. And of how there's this, it's like splintering in all these little micro communities, but then united through what I see is going to be like the technology, right? The global internet. And to add another controversial view, what I see with Bitcoin being the sort of monetary network coupled with the information network of the internet, that's going to put everyone on a fair, equal, accessible standard, but everyone's going to be living completely different lives, all in these little micro niches that are all slightly very different, that are all kind of meeting everyone's needs. And as long as we're not imposing any sort of violence or coercion on anyone else,
Yeah,
then we're good. We're all good.
village.
Like,
I
like,
call them villages.
yeah, man, that's traditional stuff. But like, going forward in the modern world, so it's like we actually have to extract the good from the past, because there is good in there. And I think that's the dark side of this green heart space postmodern, dare I say, woke culture,
You
is they
just
just
dared.
reject. I just did.
You just dared. Yeah.
I just did, yeah, because I have the courage to say whatever the fuck I want. The there is good in all of those systems of the past. Yes, there is oppression. Yes, there is corruption and evil and dark side of all of those systems, but there is also good. And the shortfall of that green egalitarian postmodern heart space is they just reject it outright because when you look back, all you see, because each system flourishes for a while and then it gets corrupted. So when you look back, all you see is the corruption. You don't see what was the good that founded that system. The good in organized religion and Christianity and Christian values and traditional values, the good in the Age of Enlightenment, science, industrial revolution, business, capitalism, the good in, the green heart space, but then acknowledging the dark side in all of those spaces as well. So,
Yeah, it's
you know,
absolutely very, very real to look at a critique of the industrial complex, the banking system, the corporate system, and so on. And none of us would be here having these conversations like this without that.
without it.
So, yeah, there is nastiness and great beauty in all of these things, and it's really about navigating those things. Yeah.
That's right.
Rupert, thanks for your time. As I say, let's see whether we can get 739 or 740 comments on this share.
Yeah, well, I'll help write some copy for it, eh? Oh gosh, yeah. Look, that'd be great, man. I think it'd be really good, and I'll definitely be sharing it as well because yeah,
Yeah.
it helps unpack.
Thanks for your time. Let's talk again soon. Perhaps we'll turn the tables and I'll speak to you about the village at some point.
Yeah, well, I am same as you, as we're on the similar parallel journey. Just got to get that podcast up and running. Um, and it feels like maybe this might be the catalyst, this post, because yesterday we had the Zoom call and the online circle, which we recorded for our own internal processes. And and I've got the light and the camera and the mic and it's all here. And I'm
Same.
like, now I'm doing another one today with you, and I'm like, oh, it's starting to happen. It's starting to happen. So I've just got to pull the trigger on my own. I'm wrestling with the idea of like doing a grounded permaculture podcast or through the new alias that I'm birthing, the Natural Capitalist podcast. I think I'm just going to go with the Natural Capitalist so that I just can just cut sick and just explore these topics on a broader sense without being confined to, the already established structure of grounded and what it is. Because, yeah, it's interesting that I'm still driving that and putting so much into it and I love it and fucking live it. But yeah, there's something else coming through.
Yeah, at some point or another, when one found something like this, it is absolutely essential to step aside from it as well, so that others can take up the mantle and move it in the direction that it has to as the future unfolds. Rupert, thanks for your time.
Thanks, Peter.